by hearing and breaking them down. Out of the gates, we got Dr. Ernst, which he's going to be, I know we have some of his people that directly work with him out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Heavy metals he's going to be breaking down. And so I want to dive right into that. I'm going to be back right after to answer your questions, clear things up for you. I think this section is going to shock you. You're going to be real leery about a couple things you've been doing. And as a registration bonus, you got Dr. Ernst's 4 main heavy metals and how you can reduce your exposure to them. So that's why it helps Facebook to come on in and register. And remember, when you hit the share button down below, when someone else registers, they're going to get that guide as well. So you can share it to all your people on social media platforms. But you're going to be shocked with that. And then I'm going to give you some tangible ways you can start pulling these metals out of the body. We're going to touch on that some too. So let's dive in. Interview number 1 for the day. You're tuning into the Heart Health Summit. Let's head on over to Dr. Ernst. See you back in a little bit. Hello and welcome to the Heart Health Summit. I'm your host, Dr. Livingood, and this is your opportunity to hear from national experts on how to naturally heal blood pressure issues, cholesterol problems, prevent heart attacks, prevent strokes, really to avoid the #1 disease killer of men and women today, which is heart disease. And today is a very powerful, not talked about enough topic of heavy metals and how it relates to your heart health with expert Dr. Ernst. Now, before we jump in with Dr. Ernst, he owns a huge wellness clinic in the Charlotte, North Carolina area with his wife, Dr. Sarah Ernst. He's a doctor of chiropractic, but holds certifications in fitness, functional nutrition, cellular detoxification, neurological rehab. So he is just constantly studying and spending countless hours really researching and understanding clear, concise protocols, procedures, to really help you rebuild your health naturally. We are in for a treat today on a topic a lot of people don't know about, and I think this will be one of the highlights of the summit. Dr. Ernst, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about this subject because as I was going through uncovering how do I heal my dad and get him real heart health, one of the things that we had to address were heavy metals. And I think it's something they're so tiny, they're so little, we don't even realize our exposure levels, but these things are wreaking havoc on the body. So I'm really excited for you to break down this connection between heavy metals and our overall heart health that's affecting all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bust into it. Tell us the connection here and break it down or the research or what's going on here.
Well, here's the thing, like when most people think about a heart health issue, for whatever reason, maybe it's the medical programming, the average person jumps straight to, my cholesterol, my triglycerides, maybe it's my blood sugar, or maybe I have, a fibrillation that's, an unknown source. But I want to be honest with you, when we share the information I'm going to share with you, all of this is from hard science. You can go to the National Library of Medicine. You can go to PubMed, which is where every single peer-reviewed journal article, even done medically, is housed in a library. It's free. Anybody can access this. And you can go there and literally type in lead and one of the first things that pops up is heart disease. It's a suggestion, like you're Googling. Mm-hmm. So the problem is the average person does not connect the idea that these toxic heavy metals can be in your body, causing your body to react in a certain way. And what the research is clearly pointing out is there are 4 key connected metals to heart health function. So if you have lead, if you have mercury, if you have thallium, or you have aluminum in your body, those 4 metals, sometimes even just one of them, has been connected to a...
So huge for my dad, let alone just making the blood heavier, the stroke risks that are involved with these. There's just so many side effects, and they get into the tissues, and they're so hard to get out, and they just sit in us, and we carry them with. So how do we get exposed? Like, what's putting us in front of typically... Because we're not seeing this. That's the thing with people. This is something under the surface that's making a lot of waves, but you don't see it. It's kind of the glacier iceberg analogy. Tell us how we're getting exposed on a daily basis.
Well, so to do that, we're going to have to talk about the big 4. So I'll start with probably the one everybody's at least somewhat knowledgeable about and how dangerous it is, which is mercury.
Yeah.
Let's just talk real quick. All of these metals, just so you guys know, are only toxic because of the exposed volume that you have in your body.
Yep.
So aluminum is an earth element. Mercury is an earth element. Lead is an earth element. Thallium is an element. So in nature, they exist naturally. You'll find these things in the ground. You'll find them in rocks. You'll find them in trees, etc. So it's not that mercury is toxic just by itself. It's at the quantity that exists in the human body. And unfortunately, we have no clear clinical definition of for each person how much is too much.
Yeah.
We have set general guidelines. Mercury is supposed to be below X and lead is supposed to be below Z and thallium. And there are ways to test for this, but how do we get exposed to them is based upon understanding each metal. So mercury, everybody, when I say the word mercury exposure, the classic, American says, well, a fish, it must be the fish I'm eating. And in the grand scheme of things, yes, it's in fish, but that is such a low exposure for most of us compared to the major source exposure, which is amalgam silver-based fillings.
So this is what got my dad. Yep.
Yeah, so what I almost always see with people that have heart health issues is they'll have a filling in the upper second last molar. Now, most of us have had our wisdoms pulled, so technically your last molar, if you have a silver filling in the upper second or third molars, that's a heart health connection with energetic meridians between how the teeth talk to organs. And here's the deal. A lot of people will say, well, I've had that filling for 40 years. Well, guess what? You've been absorbing the vapors that come off that tooth for 40 years. So mercury gets into the body by a vaporization process. You inhale it. If you have a filling and you heat it up, which means you're drinking coffee or tea or eating hot food, if you brush or rub or irritate it, every night you brush your teeth. If you bite too hard, you actually irritate the filling and it vaporizes the mercury component, and then you inhale it and it goes into the lungs, it's absorbed into the blood, and it flows around the body. Your body will see it as an unnatural substance, so it puts it into tissues. It tries to excrete it through the urine, but if you have gallons upon gallons of this mercury flowing in through vapor, your body's going to say, well, I got to put it somewhere. I'll put it in the liver, I'll put it in the brain, I'll put it in the bone. And you can actually see how much mercury you have by running a heavy metals test.
Yep.
So it's also in vaccines. We're becoming more aware of this. So you're starting to now see vaccines that are mercury-free, but warning, they're using aluminum instead of mercury. So it doesn't solve
another
the problem.
metal we're going to talk about. Yeah.
We're amplifying our fourth metal now.
Yeah.
So mercury is almost always exposed to us because of the silver fillings in our mouth, because of the vaccines that we are currently receiving or we received when we were younger, and from the fish we eat. And it's not the small fish like salmon and sardines and anchovies. It's the big guys. If you love shark, if you eat marlin or the large tunas, the ahi tuna steaks, if you're eating swordfish, they're such large marine fish. They eat the smaller fish, so it's called a kind of a concentration by design, where they are building their mercury levels up, and then we eat them and we get the mercury from that.
Toxic bioaccumulation. You're not what you eat. You're what you eat ate.
Yes. So we want to avoid large, sea fish. Second would be, of course, we're looking at things like lead, and lead's a tricky one. Lead was outlawed in the United States for commercial use in things like paint and gasoline and pipes in 1979. But you'd be amazed how many people live in a house or a subdivision or an area that was built before 1979. So if you're in a house that was built before 1979, there's a high likelihood the solder of your pipes has a lead base to it. And so the water's flowing through, absorbing the lead, and then you drink it. Sometimes you can have leaded paints that have been painted over, or you had exposure to some toy from China that had lead in it. We just found out, oh my God, these things are toxic. But I'm going to say classically, this is going to be a hard one for everyone to swallow. Your current lead levels are based upon your mother's lead levels. And a lot of our mothers grew up in the lead generation. My mom was born in the 40s. So she grew right through it. So when I tested myself, my lead was high because I absorbed it from her. And lead does cross the placental membranes. So if mom has X lead level, baby will absorb some amount of it, be born into the United States, into the world, and have lead starting, boom, already as an infant.
Yep.
So that's where lead comes from. It's from drinking waters. It's from contaminated pipes and houses that are older than 1979. Thallium is also a big one for the heart, and it's found in contaminated drinking water. So very famously, my clinics in Charlotte, we are all over the news left and right because should I say their name? The Duke Energy Company has a coal ash plant that is leaking. It is known to be leaking, and coal ash it's very high in thallium, extremely high. So if the ash is leaking into the lake absorbs the metals, They'll settle down, the ground will absorb them naturally. But again, if the concentration is high, we pull water from the lakes to get our city municipal waters, and it will not be filtered out with a classic membrane or a system that chlorinates and brominates. So then the danger is you really have to know if you have high thallium, because you could be drinking water from your house, you could be showering every morning and literally absorbing the thallium. In the Charlotte region, the patients I test, almost all of them test positive for thallium. Yep. Even I did. So thallium is classically found in contaminated drinking water sources because of either a coal plant or some sort of industrial chemical obstruction to the environment. And then let's talk about aluminum, because it's a big one. It affects the heart tremendously, but in the mainstream media, you're going to hear aluminum in Alzheimer's, aluminum in neurodegeneration, aluminum in brain. Well, brain and heart have a huge connection. So it directly disrupts heart function and brain function. And aluminum is found in a lot of classic home care products, deodorant, and even things like, some baby foods. And you can find it in your house, aluminum foils. You're putting food in there and you're baking in it, it will absorb small amounts of the aluminum. And unfortunately, as we mentioned before, it is the free mercury version stabilizer for the flu shots and for the vaccines. So aluminum is found in a lot of home care products, personal care products, food care products, and vaccines.
Yeah. It's like, like I can imagine people sitting there listening like, oh my gosh, I like my water I'm drinking, the thing I have in my tooth. I grilled with the aluminum foil last night.
Yeah.
Like the amount of exposure, no wonder we're having so many heart issues, is it being the leading cause of death, because there's so much correlation showing the research between these two. How do we start to decrease this exposure? Because it's kind of scary. It's all around us, but there's stuff we can do about it, and we're going to empower you. We'll get to this in just a moment. Before we start to get it out of your body, if it's already there, step one is obviously just reducing the exposure. That's how you start to deal with this. Yeah,
I think, well, like you said, step one is reduce exposure, but I truly think step zero is just becoming aware.
Yeah.
So many people they didn't even know. It's kind of like the nature, if you're familiar with this, of the unconscious incompetence. I don't know that I don't know. Well, now you have conscious competence. You're aware that you don't know. So that consciousness is step number one. Look, these metals in science are connected to this heart conditions of all types. It could be fibrillation. It could be an ejection volume issue. It could even be a subtle, arrhythmia, or it could be high blood pressure. Okay. The science is out there and it's proven. So that's step number one, just going, wow, I now know this. And now the most important thing is taking action on your information, which is knowledge. You need to act on the knowledge. So let's look at each four of them and recognize, well, we've got to reduce our exposure. So if mercury is being exposed to us every time we brush our teeth and we eat a hot food or a hot liquid, you need to get the tooth checked and potentially replaced. And this is where, don't just run to your classic dentist. They might say, yeah, we'll switch it out. We'll put the ceramic in, but they're going to do it in an environment that's not safe. It's an extremely toxic product. To do it properly, you have to have a dentist who's going to wear almost an OSHA certified hazmat suit with a respirator and an oxygen tank, because they do not get exposed. There has to be a massive vacuum that goes straight to a HEPA filter to inhale or pull all the air out of your mouth so that you don't inhale it. Because as they go in and drill around the filling to take it out, they're going to disrupt the filling. And you have to have this sort of a protective barrier over every square inch of your mouth so that no splash out gets absorbed into the skin. The only people that I know that are certified to do this are licensed through an organization called the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology, IAOMT. And they have websites where you can find them in your area, no matter where you live in the United States.
And you can ping us. We can help you with that. My dad, we actually found one, and my brother lived in Colorado. And so we just, because he was living in Iowa at the time, we just took him to Colorado, and he had a piece of mercury that they went through his lip to get it out, that he had a fake tooth in the front, and they pulled the fake tooth and they put mercury down in the bottom of the canal. So he had to have a surgery through his lip to get the mercury out of the front of his tooth. Like, that's how much damage this had done, how much had been sitting in his mouth. So you're absolutely right. You have to have an expert in this. And then there's some protocols around it that you got to be weary of. So you can message, we can go deeper into that, but I don't want to hold us up going, too in depth on the removal of the mercury today, but that's a huge step for a lot of people that you may need to look at.
And then, we know it's found in vaccines, so, with everything around the stigma of vaccines, it's, you're going to have to make that call. For me, I never want to inject anything into my body that's going to increase the toxicity of my body, because that decreases functionality. So we want to come up with an alternative vaccine schedule. We want to talk to a wellness physician about how do I boost my immunity without getting vaccination. And then, of course, stop eating large fish. So we remove the source. When we're going to talk about lead is just, you have to just recognize, if you came from a mother that lived in the lead generation, born in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s, you have lead in you, unquestionable.
Yep.
So you just need to know that I got to get it out of my body, and I need to reduce my exposures. With lead and with thallium, because they're water-based, the best thing to do is you have to filter your water perfectly. And look, the RO system does not remove heavy metals.
Yep.
It removes everything except for radioactive components and heavy metals. Your Brita filter is not even going to touch them. That removes chlorine, and that's about it. There are specific filter systems that you need, and usually it'll have bone char or zeolites or some sort of harmonizing component to it. There are several resources. Connect to us. We can get you guys to the direct places to buy these filters. But you have to do this. You can't just filter your drinking water. You have to filter your entire house.
Right.
Because if you shower and you're showering in the toxic water, you absorb it through the vaporization of the hot steam, and through your skin. It's absorbed directly through the skin.
That's right.
And aluminum, same way. Stop using aluminum foil. Stop using cheap supplements that they use aluminum for stabilizers. Stop getting vaccinated. And then the next step that we're going to talk about is now enhance your body's natural detox process so you can excrete.
Yeah, you can ping us too with resources on places to find these filtration systems. When I teach on water, it's always, do some level of filtration first, but know that you're not going to get to this heavy metal level. RO is a step up from there, but you're still not touching the heavy metals, but you are removing other chemicals, but you deaden the water. It's large surface areas compacted into the way that they make these filtration units, where you're passing it over these mediums that can absorb these, and then considering it for your entire house. You could drink from the toilets at the Livingood house if you wanted to. It's clean water. We'd never do that. Maybe my kids would try. I'm not sure. But yes, that'd be a good idea. So you're seeing these just simple practical steps to decrease your exposures. But let's talk, and I love the way that you put that, because I call this fixing your filters. You're either going to use a filter or be a filter, is another way to put it. But fixing your own filters, your liver, your kidneys, your body's optimization to get this stuff out of you is what we really want to focus on, to enhance that ability to get these out. So let's go through 2, 3, 4, 5 ways that people can do this right away.
Well, the first, and I want to acknowledge how amazing the human body is. Yeah. When we were divinely created, you better believe that, God in his infinite wisdom knew, in 2019, there's going to be heavy metals that are in large quantities. It's a sad reality, but let's program this being to deal with it to some degree. So first and foremost, every single living entity has natural pathways to remove metals by itself. But let's say that natural pathway can handle just X amount of exposure. So if you have 10, 15, 20, 30 times, yes, you do excrete it, but you're not going to play catch up. So what we want to do is we want to enhance the natural pathway. See, everybody's always like, what chelator do I take? Or what supplement do I take? No, let the body do it by itself, simply by up-regulating your detox pathways. And look, there's some key foods that have been shown to actually have natural pulling power. Mm-hmm. Some of them that are quite famous is spirulina, chlorella. These are the microgreen algae. Another one that's somewhat famous is cilantro, and even things like, parsley juice, chlorophyll. But here's the kicker on this, okay? You really do need to know how much do you have. If I'm working with somebody whose mercury levels are 40 times normal, or 400, or like one of my patients, 4,000, they would have to literally eat and drink probably a whole acre of cilantro to have that one product pull it out. But the easy ones that you can implement right now to upregulate your natural detox process, spirulina, chlorella, which are the microblue, microgreen algae, they come in powdered forms, they come in tablets, you can put them into smoothies, you can suck on them, you can swallow them. Cilantro and parsley. I love doing cilantro parsley shots. We have a masticating juicer that we can send the stems and the leaves through, and you get about a 1 to 2 ounce shot glass of a parsley cilantro drink. You drink that. Wheatgrass can also help. And, it's just the idea
all the time, all day long. Yep. Putting this
Yeah.
stuff in chlorella, spirulina, all those things you're talking about. I try to put it in on a daily, but like you're saying, we need a lot of it.
And the key is also understanding that because they're earth metals, minerals, these are water soluble components. So they're going to pass through your urine. So we want to make sure we flush the body. And I'll share something that's kind of fun. It's been out for eons. I mean, this has been known since even, back in the ancient, Asian eras. Salt water has a stigma. Everybody's like, why would I drink salt water? It's like drinking the ocean. I don't want to do that. But listen, the science shows that salted water upregulates detox pathways, flushes the kidneys, and allows you to excrete toxins that are water soluble. So I'm going to give a secret little saltwater flush right now. Every glass of water you drink, about an 8 to 10 ounce glass, should have a pinch or maybe even an eighth of a teaspoon of either Himalayan pink salt ground up, or the Celtic sea salts, the gray salts, not the white ones, the gray ones, stirred into the water. So you're adding a tiny bit of salt to the water so that every glass of water you drink is salted and it naturally flushes. Now, I know what you're saying. Oh my God, it's a heart health summit and you're telling me to increase my salt? My doctor said avoid salt like the plague. White table salt is synthetic, it's toxic, and it's only a sodium chloride. Yes, that'll pull apart. The sodium will irritate your kidney. It'll make you upregulate your blood fluids and your pressure will rise. It's a known fact. Avoid white table salt. But you actually need to consume the earth-based sea and mountain salts, Himalayan salts. They have 84 other salt minerals, potassium and lithium and chloride. There's everything in there, and you salt your body and you'll see your levels drop because it upregulates your detox pathway.
It's just interesting as you go through this summit and you're not the first person to talk about this. Multiple experts are telling you you've got to get this in because the studies are so clear that people that are restricting their salt diets are doubling their risk of heart disease when you get below a certain level. But if you get processed salt too high, that's another problem. So you want you right in the middle. The way to do it, little pinches of salt throughout the day. In the morning, I like to kind of eat the toad first. So I'll do a larger dose in water and just get the salt in to start my day, help the joints, help the detoxification process. But you can even, there's some recipes and things you can do to put this in. That's fantastic. So we have upping these superfoods, these greens, spirulina, spirulina, that's what I'm looking for, cilantro, parsley. We're looking at putting salts in. What's the next step that we can enhance our body with?
And let's just go into the nature of how do we turn on natural healing in your house? And I'm going to go into some of the more recent science in the regards to how powerful fasting really is. I'm going to say this just to say this. There are studies showing that if you can knock off a 72-hour fast, that's 3 straight days, that the body literally kicks itself into regeneration mode. Stem cells become activated. The liver is flushed out. The kidney is in its high peak state. So yes, it is a 3-day fast. Yes, I'm suggesting you do it with salt water. Yes, you can add things like lemon juice and apple cider vinegar, but you really, really need to start engaging the idea of increasing how long you can go without eating food. If you've never fasted,
as one of the bonuses you guys have is this is where this research comes from. You can actually even do a little bit of green juice. It has to be low carbohydrate. It has to be very, very bitter. But UCLA did this study and they showed you guys have this as a registration bonus. It's a 3-day fast. If you can get yourself to just do the salt water or apple cider vinegar without the greens, even better. But you guys have that resource right in front of you that's really going to optimize your bodies, or at least put it in there just to kickstart the detoxification process.
And let's talk about this. We've just mentioned that spirulina, chlorella, and the microgreen algae can be added to water. If you want to do a 3-day heavy metal fast, what I would be doing is taking really pure, not even reverse osmosis, harmonized, structured water. If you need help figuring out how to do that, it's easy. Honestly, I'll give you a 30-second how to structure your own water. Put water in a blender or in there. You shake it, you stir it. If you have a Vitamix, if you have a Ninja, if you have a Blend Tech, 30 to 60 seconds on as high as it gets. You'll see the water splash all around. It will structure the water and harmonize it. Now we add salt.
A stream flows with water. That's real water. A pond is dead, stagnant water. So you want the water to have life that will optimize your detoxification.
So let's structure the water. Let's add salt. Let's add spirulina powders. Let's add the chlorella powders. Let's add microgreen algae powders. Maybe you juice some cilantro and parsley and pour it in there. Shake that around. That's your breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, and dessert for 3 days. you have now activated a natural heavy metal detox that's simple, easy to do. And I want to put this out as a caution. I work with a lot of people that fast. If you're like, there's no way, well, then just try one day.
Yep.
And if you accomplish that, it's one day more than you've ever done ever. If you even say, I can't even go but 2 hours without eating, then skip breakfast and do it that way. And the next day, try to go till breakfast and lunch. Fasting does not have to be 21 days or 40 days or, spiritual power. Yeah, you can do that if you want. But a 3-day fast is what the research says activates regeneration, stem cell proliferation, detoxification. And let's talk just real quick. I'm a biblical, believer. I'm a Christian-based doctor. 3 is a very power number biblically. So it was 3 days and Jesus himself was regenerated, rejuvenated. So it's just 3 days for you to do the same thing. Resurrect your health, yourself, be your own doctor. And it's really that simple.
It's good. That's good. So the superfoods we have, the water that we're drinking, and then considering doing those things during a 3-day fast. Is there anything else you would advise people on heart health?
I'm going to say this though, just because if you're somebody who, is in the throes of a heart condition, you're taking several medications for high blood pressure, you've got cholesterols that aren't coming down, triglycerides are through the roof, and your doctor keeps yelling at you about take more meds. I would highly recommend you connect with either Dr. Livingood, myself, or any of the people, the speakers in this Heart Summit, and get tested properly for toxic heavy metals. It is a urinary panel. You simply collect your urine, you run it off to a special lab. It's not an extremely expensive test. It'll come back with a full report. Where is your aluminum? Where is your mercury? Where is your lead? Where is your thallium? And it actually tests about 90 other ones. And the neat thing is knowing that number is the most important, because when you get a health coach who sees your 10x or 40x or a 4,000x, they can coach you on how to bring it back down naturally. And it's actually really easy. It's just time, consistency, and diligence.
Yep. So good. So good. That's what I had to go to the extent my dad's condition got bad enough that we couldn't just reduce exposure or support with superfoods. We had to really get testing and understand the numbers. So good. Lots of gems in here and lots of layers. Dr. Ernst, how do people listening and going through this summit, how do they get more of you? Where can they find more of you?
The global website is askdrernst.com. It's a hard last name to spell. Everybody gets it wrong. So it's askdrernst.com. Yes, it's German. You should say Ernst. At any rate, it's askdrernst.com. Also, my Facebook page is the same handle. It's facebook.com/askdrernst. Like you, we do all kinds of stuff. Every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, I host what's called Lunch and Learn. I interview key influential people every week in the health space. So you guys can hop on that if you want. Every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern on facebook.com/askdrernst, we live stream with a camera the radio show that I do. It's called Ask Dr. Ernst for a reason. You ask a health question, we answer it from the functional, holistic, natural realm. There is no question that is too crazy to ask. And the show is every Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Well, really, everybody, this is your opportunity to hear from national experts like Dr. Ernst that are really living this out and on the cutting edge of what is creating these heart-related problems to help you experience real heart health. So that this is valuable to you, which I can't imagine anyone listening did not find this insanely valuable today. Share it with people, or you want to own these yourself. There's a button right down below, and you can get your VIP pass to get all the expert talks. But not only that, to actually apply what we're talking about. As part of getting a VIP pass, you will actually get Dr. Ernst's guide for at home of how you can start detoxing. We gave you the highlights today, but he'll be going deeper in that guide, and then we will be volunteering to walk you through during the Heart Health Challenge. How can you start implementing and reducing the exposure to toxins? How do you start getting this out of your body as we coach and guide you through it, so that we're not just talking about information today, we're turning it into knowledge, the application of information, and that's where the power comes in. So that's how you can experience real health. Click the button to learn more about that. And so good to have you on today, Doc. I think this is, arguably the best talk on this summit as far as something that really needs to be handled that not many people are talking about. So I appreciate you for what you're doing.
Thank you.